Hello and welcome to the show, and we start with the Toyota Aygo. This, along with its siblings, the Citroen and the Peugeot. I can't remember the numbers that go with them cars. Anyway, this is a sort of a very small, very cheap, sort of cheap to buy, cheap to run, cheap to insure, sort of city car. It's not really designed for, your long motorway drives because it's probably not that comfortable. It's a fairly good car. I quite like these. They're good for what they do. They're sort of good handling, fairly nippy. And yeah, they're not too bad at cars. Now, yeah, there are issues with them. I mean, this one has 68 horsepower, for example. It's not the fastest car in the world, and I can't imagine it's the most sort of comfortable on a long journey, especially if you're trying to fit 5 people in it, because it is a relatively small car. It's also, well, not the most exciting car in the world. I'm going to be honest. I mean, yes, I do quite like these city cars. They're quite fun to drive. But yeah, they're not going to be the most exciting vehicles in the world. So we set off to kind of try and change that. So what we're going to do is a little bit mental. We are going to go city car racing. I think we had 14 or 15 of these, all the different ones, the Peugeots, the Citroens and the Aygos, and we are going to have a race. You can imagine the sort of chaos this is going to ensue as we come to the first corner and somebody has already managed to spin it and everybody's manically trying to avoid them. Now, to make this even more interesting, this is on the Ladera, the medium circuit, I can't remember what it's called, and everybody completely forgot where they were going at the first corner. There's just plague of chaos and crashes and a little bit of lag. Never mind that. And this is Daniel's car actually that I was following early on, who managed to find the wall and the sticky stuff. As you can see, first corner, well, like any racing game when you're online, is complete and utter carnage. Everybody kind of sorted themselves out. Now we are running simulation damage, so at this point there is, well, a rather large angry mob of cars. There we go, that was English I was looking for, with varying degrees of damage. Some of the cars had sustained a fair bit of damage in the first corner sort of incident. There wasn't, I wouldn't say there was a huge amount of contact, but as you can see, there were quite a few cars that were sort of smoking engines. Now, me and the guy who was in second, who we both happened to be driving the yellow Peugeots, kind of got very lucky. There was a random grid, I think, and I was lucky and started on pole, and we both managed to get away out of that first corner without any incidents, and that's quite a big thing because both of our cars now are completely fine. They're completely clean of any damage, so we're not losing any performance, which when these cars are so underpowered is kind of a little bit important. As the race progressed, I'm going to be honest, I could have changed to any person's camera at any point in time and there was something going on. That pretty much sums up this race. There was so much going on. I can't remember who's who and what position is where because it changed so fast. We see here there's a three-way battle between some Citroens and a Peugeot, and there's another Citroen about to come join in. And this was just happening throughout the field, and this is very early on in the race. I think the Peugeot was suffering a bit of engine damage. This one, yes, it is smoking. I love where that, I don't know where that greeny grey one Citroen decided to go, just sort of decided to vanish and make up his own racetrack. Yeah, this this pretty much sums it up. It's absolute chaos. You never know who's going to be where, who's got engine damage. Well, you can sometimes see, but if you haven't got enough engine damage to be generating smoke, some cars go slow in some places. This, I believe, I don't know, I can't remember, is the battle for third at one point between a couple of the Aygos. There were some people who sort of dived into the pits to get your car fixed. That was probably the better way to go as the cameraman gets run over. Thank you for that. Because, yeah, you want a car to be performing at its best rather than sort of struggling around with a broken engine. Oh yes, you will lose time in the pits, and on a track like this you can lose almost a lap, but you will probably make the time up because if you're struggling with a damaged engine you're going to be getting caught up in battles and things. Yeah, it would be better to go into the pits. So I love this clip of how these guys managed to stay near enough side by side with each other for like 3/4 of a lap, and you can do that because these cars aren't so fast. These cars are easy to drive, they're quite fun to drive, and because they're so small, and you can just sort of stay sort of side by side and have some proper good racing. And I have to say, it's quite fun. Well, it looked like quite fun. I had a bit of a boring race, to be honest. I was just sort of doing hot laps around here, but it looked like great fun with all of these cars. We see another battle going on here. I don't know what position this is for, but every position was fought over quite viciously. This corner here is nasty, even in these cars. That's a very nasty corner, and they're catching up to, I think that's the same broken blue Peugeot as before. But yeah, you can see that there was just stacks of battles going on, and because these cars are small and fairly slow, you were going 2 wide, 3 wide into corners, and it made for some exciting racing. I have to say, it was very good fun. Yeah, we see here, you never know who was a lap down. Well, you kind of would, but people would come out of the pits with fixed cars. There would be a lap down, but of course their car's now relatively quick, so they just sort of slot into the race. I like here, I have no idea who's on what lap. They're probably all on the same lap, but they might not be. You can see that people kind of ended up in sort of groups. You sort of have a group of 3 here. I think these 3 Citroens. I think the Peugeots I think were the most popular choice, so they had like a 1 PI advantage, which when you're talking about this makes absolutely no difference. We sort of progressed through the race. This was the really big battle. This was the battle of the third that went on for a while. Now I think some of these cars in this mix here were lapped and are just kind of like rejoined, so I don't think there's quite this many, but yeah, there's huge numbers of cars all battling over the same sort of spot, and if we did this with faster cars you wouldn't get this. This is why I think this is a fantastic sort of thing to do, and why it was so much fun is because the cars are slower. The driver skill, I mean, yes, driver skill matters. You know, the faster drivers will eventually get towards the front. However, because the cars are slower, it's a lot easier to drive these things fast, and that ends up with a lot closer racing. There is contact. You could try and say no contact. It's never going to last, especially not around a track like this that's very short, very tight. And yeah, with these cars, there's a little bit of ping pong going on between 2 of them. I think there is a back marker that ends up getting in the way and causes a little bit of problem. That was something else you had to look out for. Not necessarily just back markers, but someone with a damaged car who doesn't accelerate as fast out of a corner as you would expect. Going 4 wide into that corner there, I wouldn't recommend. That's a very dangerous move to be going in there. That chicane caught out a few people, I think. I can't remember if I found any in the video, but there were quite a few damaged cars around there. You see here, we're going to try going 3 wide into the first corner. That's not quite a clever idea. There was a fair bit of corner cutting, I'm going to be honest. It's kind of a hard thing, like when everybody's racing so closely. If you've got to find some space by doing that, then I guess you'll get away with it. There is sticky stuff if you try and take too much corner. As you see there, that was kind of good actually to have that stuff there, just to kind of stop people from taking too many liberties. We see again, I think this is still with the battle for third at some point. Actually no, I think this is Daniel actually, who he fell quite a way back. He got munched in the first corners, or the second lap I think he got spun around and broken. He was fighting his way up. I think he was in 5th or 6th at the moment. You can see here there's some Citroens and Peugeots, and I think the Igos, there weren't very many Igos, which is a little bit of a shame. They're somewhere about. Someone's only gone in the pits, changed their mind at the last minute. That was a very late call. But you can see just there was utter chaos. But it was good chaos. This is a great motorsport. I definitely think we'll be doing more of these again because, yeah, as you can see, it's utterly insane. For the guys at the front, it was a fairly lonely race for me, I'm going to be honest. I kind of pulled away at the start. I got a 2,000 or 3,000 foot lead over the other Peugeot, and then I ended up just sort of catching up and lapping everybody. Mostly to do with the fact that I had a kind of clean car. I had no aero damage. I actually think I did get a tiny bit. I may have snagged a back marker at some point. Yeah, I had no damage, so I had a vastly superior car to some of these. As you can see through here, how much straight line speed I had compared to everything. And I'm an amazing driver, of course. That's the real reason why. I think there was a green car that ended up in a wall there that you never quite see. But yeah, there was just chaos was going on everywhere. The guy in second place, again, was having a fairly lonely race. So I'd pulled out a relatively big lead over him, but he'd avoided all the sort of chaos at the start. So he was, I honestly don't remember. I forgot to look at the leaderboard thing. But yeah, he was in second, about 3,000 feet behind me, and about 3,000 feet in front of the guy in third. So yeah, if you get away at the start, it's a fairly easy win, but it can be a little bit boring. As we see now, this is me coming onto the last lap. You just catch sort of in the background there, some more cars are battling. It's just constant battles everywhere, which is why it's fantastic. It makes for certainly an interesting video and quite a pain to film because it's very hard to sort of pick out the best bits. Well, my proudest moment of the entire race is I managed to lap Daniel, which I think is about to happen. I hope it is. Yes, I think he is driving the silver car in here. I can't remember. He's driving something. I think he was driving a Citroen. Was he driving a Citroen? No, he was driving a... I have no clue. I think he was driving the Peugeot there that I just lapped. And this was the final lap. And I'm about to cross the line and take a humongous victory. And then my AI caused a few problems. Because basically I have no control of my car now. And it makes everything crash. Because yeah, the AI just didn't kind of end up getting out of the way. So I may have caused some problems and messed some things up for people that were still racing. But it wasn't my fault, it was the AI that did it. So, there we go. That was city car racing. It is a fantastic motorsport, and they should definitely try it in real life, people. I think it would be amazing fun. So yes, I recommend you go try it, actually, if you get some friends. The more the better with this sort of racing, because it's chaos, and the more people is more chaos, and that's often more fun. So yes, I recommend you go give this a try. any short track is pretty good. If you go to a longer track, it gets a little bit boring because these cars aren't fast in a straight line. So a short track, this one, Iberian, Tsukuba, they're all pretty good, or any of the shortened versions of some of the other tracks. However, that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Next time, I think Daniel will be back. He's finished all his exams and we can get back to a sort of normal schedule. And while I am just thinking of stuff to important information, YouTube is making everybody change channels to the crappy new layouts. I normally don't moan about sort of changing layouts, but this new one is utterly terrible. But I'm afraid we're going to have to change to it. So yeah, I am really sorry about that. However, that is it for this video. So until next time, goodbye.